Child of light, I am sent to you with words from the heart of the one who formed you, who knew every breath you would take before the foundations of the world were laid. I have watched you walk through valleys you never asked to enter. I have seen the storms batter your soul, I have heard the silent cries you thought no one heard, and I am here to tell you, your pain is not wasted. Heaven has seen every tear. God's grace, vast, unending, immeasurable, can and will turn your deepest pain into a purpose so great that even you will be amazed. We angels do not taste suffering as you do, yet we behold its mystery unfolding in the lives of mortals like yourself. Pain on earth is a shadow of something broken in the world since the first fall, when humanity stepped away from the perfect harmony of Eden, and into a realm where thorns and thistles grew, where toil and sorrow became companions to joy. It wounds the body in ways that leave scars visible and invisible, burdens the heart with weights that feel too heavy to carry alone, and casts long shadows over hope, making the future seem dim and uncertain. You have asked yourself, in the quiet hours of the night, or amid the chaos of the day, why did this happen? Why me? These questions echo through the ages, whispered by countless souls before you. By Job on his ash heap, by David in his caves of hiding, by Mary at the foot of the cross. Know this, dear one, God never delights in your pain. He is not the author of evil, for his nature is pure light, unshadowed by darkness. Yet in his sovereignty, which spans the stars and delves into the depths of every human heart, he can weave even the darkest threads into a tapestry that shines with his glory, revealing patterns of redemption that no earthly eye could foresee. Pain is strange because it feels so utterly meaningless in the moment, doesn't it? It isolates you, wrapping you in a cocoon of loneliness where even the presence of loved ones feels distant. It drains your energy, sapping the vitality that once fueled your dreams and daily steps. It convinces you that perhaps all is in vain, that your struggles are random cruelties of fate, rather than part of a larger narrative. Yet the Spirit of God, gentle as the dawn breaking over a weary horizon, takes the very fragments of your suffering and begins quietly, tenderly, to shape them into something new. What seems like ashes in your hands, gray and lifeless, can become the rich soil from which new life grows, sprouting shoots of resilience and blooms of understanding that perfume the air around you. Think of the potter at the wheel, molding clay that has been crushed and watered. Your pain is the crushing that prepares you for shaping. If this truth stirs something in your spirit, type 1111 in the comments below to declare that you are open to God's reshaping hand in your life. Grace is not a small thing, child. It is not merely God's kindness, extended like a polite gesture. It is His power actively working in you, a divine force that surges through your veins when your own reserves are depleted. Grace is heaven's river pouring into the dry places of your soul, quenching thirsts you didn't even know you had, flooding parched lands until they overflow with life. It is undeserved, unearned, unstoppable, like a mighty waterfall that crashes down regardless of the rocks below. Grace goes where your strength ends, stepping in precisely when you falter, whispering, "I am here." You may think, "I don't have the strength to endure this," and in your humanity, you are right, you do not possess it on your own. But grace is strength borrowed from eternity, drawn from the inexhaustible wells of the divine. It flows directly from the throne to your heart, lifting you when you cannot lift yourself, carrying you across chasms that would otherwise swallow you whole. And grace does something deeper than just help you survive the storm. It transforms you from the inside out, reshaping your very essence. Where bitterness could have rooted itself like stubborn weeds in untended soil, grace plants compassion tender and blooming, allowing you to see others' hurts with eyes softened by your own trials. Where despair could have ruled like a tyrant over your thoughts, grace births hope, a fragile yet fierce light that pierces the gloom. Imagine a blacksmith forging iron in the fire. The heat is intense, the blows unrelenting, but what emerges is stronger, sharper, more useful than before. Your trials are the forge, and grace is the blacksmith's skillful hand. If you feel the warmth of this grace stirring within you right now, say Amen in the comments to affirm that His power is at work in your weakness. Your scars are not signs of defeat. They are chapters of a story being redeemed. Pages written in the ink of perseverance that tell of battles fought, and victories won, even if the triumph came through surrender. Every blow you endured, whether from loss, betrayal, illness or injustice, every betrayal that cut like a knife through trusted bonds, every sleepless night where worry circled like vultures, these are seeds planted in the garden of your life. God waters them with His Spirit, nurturing them until they sprout into wisdom and empathy that could never have been learned in the comfort of ease and abundance. Wisdom that discerns truth from illusion, empathy that bridges divides between hearts. From heaven I have seen it time and again. Those who have walked through fire, their feet blistered, and their lungs filled with smoke, can walk alongside others still in the flames, offering guidance born of experience. Those who have been broken, their spirits fractured like shattered glass, can speak healing in ways the unbroken cannot, for their words carry the authenticity of survival. Your pain equips you for a mission, often in ways you will not see until much later, when hindsight reveals the divine strategy at play. Do not rush the process, beloved. It is okay. If you are not yet at the purpose, part of your pain, if you're still wandering in the wilderness of confusion and grief. Even in the waiting, God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating details you cannot yet perceive. A seed in the ground sees only darkness, feels only the pressure of earth pressing in. But above, the sun and rain are conspiring to call it into life, drawing it upward toward the light. If you're in that waiting season and need encouragement, type 222 in the comments to signal your trust in God's timing. Purpose is not merely a task assigned like a chore on a list. It is alignment with heaven's story for your life, a harmonious blending of your experiences with the grand narrative of redemption that God is writing across history. Often the very places you thought would destroy you, those deep pits of despair or mountains of obstacle, become the places where you shine brightest for others, illuminating paths they could not see on their own. The voice you thought silenced by tragedy, muffled by sobs or choked by doubt, becomes the voice that carries healing to many, resonating with authenticity that draws weary souls closer to hope. Remember Joseph, who was thrown into a pit by his own brothers out of jealousy, sold into slavery as if he were mere merchandise, falsely accused by those he served faithfully, and imprisoned in a foreign land where hope seemed as distant as his homeland. Years later, standing in the palace as a ruler, he said to those same brothers, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to save many lives." This is the exchange God offers you. To take what was meant for destruction, malicious intent, random misfortune, systemic brokenness, and transform it into salvation and blessing, not only for you, restoring what was lost in ways that exceed imagination, but for others who will benefit from your transformed life, your personal deliverance, the moment when chains fall and light breaks through, will one day be someone else's testimony of hope, a beacon they cling to in their own darkness. The comfort you receive from the Comforter himself will be the comfort you can give freely, passing on the gift like a relay of grace. Let me tell you how this heavenly alchemy unfolds, step by step, in the quiet laboratories of the soul where God performs his miracles. Grace meets you in the pain, right there in the midst of the chaos, without demanding that you be strong or composed before it arrives. It doesn't wait for you to clean up your mess or muster a facade of resilience. It rushes in like a first responder, binding wounds with tender care. Grace carries you through the valley, providing manna for today, strength for this hour, peace for this moment, without making you worry about tomorrow's provision, for each day has enough trouble of its own. As the scriptures say, it sustains you with daily bread, both literal and spiritual, reminding you that tomorrow's grace will come with tomorrow's dawn. Grace begins to reframe your story, shifting your perspective like an artist adjusting the angle of light on a canvas. You start to see that what was meant to break you has instead built endurance in you, forging muscles of faith that grow stronger with each trial. Endurance that allows you to run the race set before you without fainting, to stand firm when winds howl. Grace births compassion, a deep wellspring that overflows naturally. Suddenly you feel the suffering of others more deeply, and you know how to stand with them, not with platitudes but with presence, sharing silence or stories that say, I've been there too. Grace redirects your energy, guiding it away from dwelling in the shadow of the wound, where resentment festers, toward building in the light of the healing, constructing bridges of connection and altars of gratitude. This is the process through which pain becomes purpose, not by ignoring the wound, pretending it never happened or minimizing its impact, but by letting the healer touch it with hands that bore nails for your sake. The touch may sting at first like antiseptic on a cut, but it cleanses and mends, leaving behind a scar that tells a story of survival and strength. If you're re-experiencing this transformation in any small way, type 777 in the comments to celebrate God's alchemy in your life. From where I stand in the celestial realms, I see not only your present moment, captured in the now like a snapshot, but also the threads of eternity weaving through time. I see how God is weaving your life into a design that will echo forever, resonating in the halls of heaven and the hearts of generations. The parts you think of as wasted years, those seasons of stagnation, sorrow, or seeming irrelevance, are in fact the ground where your ministry, your calling, and your testimony will grow strong, rooted deeply to withstand future storms. Like a tree planted by streams of water, your roots delve into those dark times, drawing nourishment from what once felt barren. When you stand in eternity, gazing upon the total pattern of your life like an unfolded map, you will rejoice even over the difficult seasons, not because they were pleasant, for who could claim joy in agony, but because of what God brought from them. Lives touched, chains broken, light spread, light spread. You will see how a single act of faithfulness in your pain rippled outward, affecting souls you never met, in places you never visited. Faith, dear one, is not pretending the pain is small or insignificant. It is trusting that God is greater. Infinitely so, his power dwarfing every shadow. When you cannot trace his hand in the midst of confusion, when his actions seem hidden or delayed, trust his heart, which beats with unwavering love for you. Anchor yourself in his promises, those unchanging words etched in scripture that stand as lighthouses in the fog. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness, as Paul learned in his thorn-filled journey. The Lord is near to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit, a psalm that has comforted kings and commoners alike. I, every day, choose to believe that he can redeem even this trial, this ache, this uncertainty. You need not know how or when, only that He will, for His track record spans creation itself. If these promises resonate with you, say Amen once more in the comments to anchor your faith today. Because the Father of Lights does not only speak encouragement but also gives guidance, practical and grounded. Here is counsel from heaven for your journey through this transformative path. Speak honestly with God about your pain. He welcomes your raw truth, your angry questions, your tear-soaked prayers, for He is not offended by authenticity but draws near to it. Surround yourself with those who speak life, not despair, over you. Friends, mentors, communities that remind you of truth when lies whisper loudly. Keep a journal of how God meets you, noting the small mercies, the unexpected joys, the whispers of peace, so you can remember in the hard days when memory fades. Look for small ways to serve others, even while you heal. Purpose often begins with serving, a cup of water given in His name, that refreshes both giver and receiver. Feed your spirit with His word, for it is living bread, nourishing the soul with truths that sustain far beyond physical sustenance. One day in eternity you may be approached by souls whose lives were touched because you endured with grace, because you shared your story vulnerably, because you turned your wound into a witness that pointed to the healer. You may never have met them on earth, their paths crossing yours invisibly through words written, prayers uttered, or acts of kindness extended in passing. Perhaps they read your words in a book or post, overheard your song of praise in a moment of worship, or received kindness from you in a moment when your own heart was still tender from the trial, raw and sensitive. You will see the chain reaction your faith set into motion, like dominoes falling in a divine pattern, one life impacting another in a cascade of redemption. Beloved soul, hear these words as if heaven itself whispers them into your ear. Nothing in your life, not a single moment, is ever wasted in the hands of the Almighty. Not a tear shed in silence, not a heartbeat in pain, not a sigh carried on the wind. None of it escapes His notice. Scripture tells us that the Lord collects every tear, storing them in vials as if each were a gem, a treasure of immense worth. Pause and consider this. The God who flung galaxies into space, who traced the arcs of auroras across the heavens, who named each star, and breathed life into every creature, you, beloved, are infinitely more precious to Him than the cosmos itself. If He treasures the tears you cry in private, imagine what He does with the suffering you endure, the prayers you whisper when no one else listens, the nights you wrestle with your own doubts and fears. Your pain is not for nothing. It is not wasted. It is a thread woven into a divine tapestry, a thread that may seem dark and frayed when viewed up close, but when seen from the perspective of eternity, it forms part of a masterpiece. The sorrow you feel is not the end. It is a preparation, a refining, a shaping of your spirit into someone capable of walking in the fullness of God's purposes. Even when you feel small, invisible, or unworthy, remember this: the Creator of heaven and earth sees you. He knows your name. He knows your heart, and He is already moving, orchestrating your life with wisdom beyond measure. You have walked through shadows, deep, suffocating, enveloping shadows where hope seemed distant, a flicker barely visible. You have stumbled, felt the weight of the world pressing on you, and wondered if you would ever emerge. Yet even in those moments you were not abandoned. You were not alone. The light, the eternal flame, walked beside you, unseen perhaps, but unextinguishable, unwavering. That light, dear soul, is the presence of God Himself. It is the same light that split the darkness on the first day of creation. The same light that calmed storms and healed the sick. The same light that conquered death on the third day. That light is within you, walking you through every trial, holding you when your legs fail, speaking to you when your voice falters. Do not despair at your suffering. Do not allow your heart to believe that pain is meaningless. Pain, when surrendered to God, is transformed. It is alchemy, turning your brokenness into purpose. The sharp, unrelenting edge of your grief will one day become the very tool through which God blesses others. Your scars will speak, not of defeat, but of triumph. Your trials will testify not of despair but of hope. And the story you thought was a tragedy will, in God's hands, become an epic of grace, a declaration of His glory. Imagine the day, yes, that day will come, when you can finally understand the Swartur, why. When the threads of your suffering are revealed as part of a divine pattern, intricately interwoven with love, wisdom, and purpose, when your tears collected in heaven's vials are shown to have contributed to something far greater than yourself. On that day your heart will overflow, not with sorrow, but with awe. You will see that every trial, every moment of despair, every lonely night was part of a plan crafted by hands far wiser than yours. And you will say with trembling lips, "It was grace all along." These words will not be empty. They will echo through every fiber of your being, reverberating with the truth of God's faithful love. The peace of God is not just a fleeting feeling or momentary breath of relief. It is a living shield, radiant, unyielding, and strong. It is the eternal calm that stands guard over your heart. It is not dependent on circumstances, nor is it shaken by reports of trouble. It is a fortress around your spirit, and those who dwell within it cannot be overrun. I have watched storms rage around the children of God. I have seen the winds of fear howl, the waves of uncertainty crash, and the arrows of the enemy fly. Yet when the peace of God rests upon a soul, it becomes like a sentinel posted at the gate, turning away every whisper of doubt, silencing the enemy's accusations, and shielding the heart from despair. When this peace covers you, it steadies you even when the earth beneath you trembles. It keeps you from being swept away by emotions that change like the wind. Do not think of peace as something passive. No, beloved, peace is active, vigilant, and mighty. Wear it as you would a mantle. Wrap it around your mind. Let it saturate your thoughts until, even in the fiercest trial, you can say, "It is well with my soul." The deep nature of God's grace and grace. Oh, let us speak of grace. Grace is heaven's lifeblood poured into the veins of your spirit. It is not merely an idea discussed in sacred texts. It is a force, a current of divine strength that never runs dry. Grace is the hand that catches you when you stumble, the breath that fills your lungs when you think you can't go another step, the whisper that says, "Rise again, you are not finished." When your steps falter and the ground feels unstable beneath you, grace makes firm the trembling places. When your courage wanes and your hands grow weak, grace places strength in your grip and fire in your heart. It is heaven saying you do not walk alone. Think of grace as the bridge spanning the chasm between your present pain and your future triumph. Without grace the gap feels impossible, but with it, you cross to the other side. It carries you when you can no longer carry yourself. It takes the broken pieces and molds them into stepping stones toward a destiny God has written for you before the foundations of the world. From suffering to sacred purpose, beloved, the purpose born of your suffering is never meant to remain hidden within you. It is not only for your healing, it is for the healing of many. The lessons learned under the weight of hardship, the endurance forged in nights without sleep, the tenderness that comes from your own wounds. These become your gifts to a world that is weary and desperate for hope. I have seen it from heaven's side. Pain, when surrendered to God's hands, becomes a river of blessing. Your story, once heavy with lament, turns into a song that others hear in their own midnight hours. That river flows outward into deserts cracked with despair, bringing cool water where bitterness once reigned. It pours over wounds in other hearts, softening places that were hardened by loss and disappointment. This is heaven's design, not to erase the pain, but to transform it. God does not waste a single tear. Every sorrow is redeemed. When it is placed at his feet, what was once tragic he makes sacred. What was once a wound becomes a compass guiding others toward his presence. Your scars, far from disqualifying you, become proof that healing is possible. The enemy would have you believe that your pain is pointless, but the Spirit of truth tells you, it is seed, and in God's timing it will yield a harvest. When you feel alone, I know. Sometimes the weight feels unbearable. Isolation stretches like an endless night, and loneliness whispers that you have been forgotten. But hear me now, you are not abandoned. You are not invisible. You are cherished. Even when you cannot feel his hand, God is at work. He is moving hearts to make room for your arrival. He is opening doors no enemy can close. He is preparing opportunities that perfectly align with your calling, though they are hidden from your view for now. You stand in the middle of a chapter, but the author is not finished writing. What feels like a wall ahead is only a page that will soon turn. On the other side is dawn, and with the dawn comes joy, strength, and victory. Affirming heaven's work in you, beloved, this is the moment to agree with heaven, not only in your mind, but deep in your spirit. To say yes to the transformation God has already begun within you, to put your full weight on his promises and refuse to let fear dictate your future. There is power in choosing to believe, even when your surroundings say otherwise. Faith is not ignoring the storm. It is stepping into it with God's peace guarding your heart, and his grace strengthening your stride. I urge you now, respond to this word with a tangible sign of your agreement. Speak it aloud. I receive this truth. I trust his plan. Let your own voice bear witness to what heaven is speaking over you. And if, in your heart, you feel the stirring, mark this moment intentionally. Seal it as a testimony both to God and to yourself. Let it be a spiritual declaration, like the saints of old who built altars where God spoke to them, leaving stones as reminders for future days. If you believe and accept this promise, write 999 in the comments, not for the sake of numbers, but as a prophetic act between you and heaven. Let 999 be your banner of trust, your cry of faith. My story is not over. My suffering will become my song. My trial will end in triumph. The blessing now, I speak this blessing over you as heaven's messenger. May peace like a river wash over your thoughts. May grace like a mighty wind lift your weary soul. May purpose burst forth from the very places that once caused you pain. May your testimony reach far beyond your imagination, drawing countless hearts nearer to the God who redeems all things. Walk forward, beloved, clothed in the mantle of his peace. Let grace be your stride, and hope be your shadow. The storm will pass, the dawn will break, and the chapter ahead will bear fruit from seeds sown in the soil of your perseverance. You are seen, you are loved, you are victorious, because the one who cannot be defeated walks beside you still.